Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another Hot Toys 1/6 scale Batman the Dark Knight figure unboxing and review. Today, we're taking a look at the DX Artisan version of Heath Ledger's Joker. Now, I got mine at a discount from Pop Collectibles. As always, do your own research, make sure you're comfortable before buying. I've popped a link to their site in the description, along with the discount code Justin's Collection, for 5% off your order if you decide to buy from them. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button, so you're notified as soon as a brand new Dark Knight Trilogy figure review goes live on the channel. There is so much riding on this. It's a proper make or break moment for them. If this Joker isn't one of the best 1/6 scale Heath Ledger Joker figures ever, because we've had so many and that's what the price point demands, he's going to be an instant fail. And to make matters worse, folks are treating this as the proof of concept for the entire Artisan line. He has to solidify Hot Toys' position as being a premium 1/6 scale figure maker, and that they can compete with both InArt and JND. That's a lot to expect from any one figure, but I'm hoping they pulled it off. As for the box art, they're off to a good start. Nice thick sturdy cardstock, metallic purple and green printing, a metallic foil green bat symbol, high gloss for the red smile at the bottom, and a textured effect for the ha-ha-ha's on both sides around the front. At first I thought this was an image of Heath because those eyes look so real. But then I looked closer at the hair, and that is some Artisan rooted hair. That is figure photography, which is blowing my mind. If the figure inside the box looks this good, then we're in for a treat. Combining all of those finishes cannot have been cheap. This is probably one expensive box, and it looks it too. The metallic effect is really sharp. The color choice, spot on for the purple and green. I don't think they could have gone any more vibrant than this. On the side of the box, we've got these little speckles, almost. They're meant to make it look like battle damage, as though the box is scuffed up, and when you run your fingers across the surface, you can feel all of that stuff. Those bits are raised and 3D and textural. Around the back, even this is good to look at. We've got so many ha-ha-ha's, all textured, of course. Then a strip of green through the middle, with all the boring stuff on it. Warnings, legal information, and Hot Toy store locations. Now, this box works like a drawer of sorts. You slide out the inner piece, and this is just an outer cardboard shell. Before we get to this, look at that. On the side of the box, we've got a quote. This is done in high gloss, so it contrasts against the satin finish for the green, and it's an iconic quote. Let's put a smile on that face. I'm hoping this Joker puts a smile on all of our faces. Feel free to pause to read this. Unfortunately, Hot Toys being Hot Toys, we've got a couple of grammatical issues. Same thing can be said for that. Form-fitting tailor? I think they meant to say tailoring. Now, the head sculpt is packaged separately, just like what we saw with InArt's Joker. It's within this plastic clamshell, so we'll look at that a little bit later. Let's focus on the body first. In typical DX fashion, the body is nestled within this foam block, and first in-hand impressions. Oh, that tailoring is sharp, and this body feels surprisingly hefty. Not super heavy, but nice and premium. What we're going to do now is get all of Joker's accessories laid out in the light box, and take a closer look at everything he comes with. Normally, we'd be starting off with the display base. We'll get there. I want to kick things off with Joker's head sculpt, because it's arguably the star of the show, and it comes packaged separately in the box in this container anyway. They've changed the design of their head sculpt containers. This is what we were getting with WB100 Wonder Woman and the Imposter version of Joker, versus the new design. I much prefer this. It's smaller, it's more compact. We've got some frosted plastic top and bottom, a mirrored base inside, and a nameplate that says the Joker in green. Is anybody going to display their Joker head sculpt like this? Probably not, because then the figure would be headless in your collection. Still, I like that they put in the effort with something as simple as a head sculpt container that you're going to see once, and then it's going to go straight back in the box, probably. First impressions for this head sculpt? I'm really impressed, but we'll dive in a lot deeper a little bit later once we install this on the body. Last thing before we get to the base. This is a companion piece for the head sculpt. It's a little switch out, sticky outy tongue. It sags down at the front, there's some definition up on top, it's asymmetrical in the way it's been sculpted, so it'll sit off to one side, but it's not as glossy as I was expecting. That's something I might just have to fix myself. Now to install it, it doesn't plug in from the front. You actually open up the back hair panel, remove his teeth, then you slide this through his open mouth. Don't worry, I'll show you how all that works. This is a seriously awesome little base. It's uncomplicated, but it's so effective. It's a circular footprint base, so it's a centerpiece style one. It's a little bit taller than usual, so it is going to give him an added height boost in the display. And detail-wise, it packs a punch. We've got the road markings actually sculpted in, some airbrush shading, the bat symbol straight through the middle, which lights up, a grey dry brush on the road texture, a black wash in the cracks, and a broken manhole cover done in a metallic finish. They've been getting more adventurous with their diorama bases recently, with massive protrusions on the top platforms so that figures can't really stand freely on them. Not the case with this base. Joker can stand anywhere on it, no problem. It's a completely flat surface except for these rocks, which are removable anyway, so you can ditch them if you don't want them there. They're removable for a very specific purpose. I'll show you what I mean. Around the back, a USB-C port. Unfortunately, they decided once again not to include a USB-C cable. I don't like that. If you are using USB-C as your connection method for the power supply to the base, you need to include a frickin' USB-C cable. Anyway, this is the button to activate it. You push it once, it turns on, it looks quite fiery. The way they've painted it also helps with that effect. But if you push it a second time, it's got a breathing/blinking effect to it. It's smoother in person. For some reason, shooting it in 60 FPS, it looks jankier than it actually is. This is why the rocks are removable. I've taken out the big back one, and now I've installed a translucent arm with a height adjustable waist clamp in it. I've never been a massive fan of waist clamps, I prefer crotch grabbers, but there's no arguing that this is a very secure way to attach your Joker to his display base. It's just going to sit extremely tight around his waist. Even if you bring it all the way up, it doesn't want to spring open as much as I would like for it not to be putting pressure on his outfit. If you are partial to waist clamps, well, then you're in luck. You can plug it into any of the 3 ports where the stones sit on the base. I'm going to ditch it entirely though, because they've tried something new, different, and ingenious, in my opinion. Removing the 3rd rock, we can then bring in this clear post. Make sure you push it all the way down. When it's connected successfully, you'll hear a proper click as it pops in place. After you've done that, grabbing Joker, we've got some peg ports under his feet, so you can use this on either side. You slide him onto the post, and now he's connected to the base. No magnets. They seem to be hit or miss with in-art figures. Some people have had no problems, other people have had their figures topple over countless times. With this, you can only really see it from the side. We do have visible peg ports under his shoes, which we'll discuss in the pros and cons segment. But the trade-off is, once he's connected, he ain't going anywhere. In typical Joker fashion, we get 3 stacks of Jokerized cash. You can see he's drawn on the face, smack bang in the middle. You can take off the plastic sections and then remove all the bills if you so choose. That way you can litter them around the base, which is a display option I'm strongly considering. I'm not going to open up the playing cards on camera because they're really small and they're very thin, so they'll go absolutely everywhere. When you get your copy of the Clown Prince of Crime in hand, you can take out the cards and pick your favourite of the bunch. You get, I think, a full deck of all Jokers. Unlike what we got with InArt's Joker, the Hot Toys grenades are made of plastic, not die-cast. Is that important? To some, metal is very important, especially for accessories that hang inside a jacket, because you want that simulated weight at 1/6 scale. We'll see how these work in his outfit and if that's going to be a problem once we install them. This grenade is my favorite of the bunch. We get a couple of different shapes and sizes, and a black wash in the sculpted crevices. They're all attached with purple strings. They meet there. Then there's one long one up top that terminates in a real die-cast ring. To install them in his jacket, they've given us some 1/6 scale actual safety pins. I'm not looking forward to the installation of these grenades, but I will be doing it. His Glock is also made of plastic. You can remove the magazine down below. There's some painted bullet detail on top of it. The slide is spring-loaded. You can actuate it forward and back. But compared to the InArt one, I much prefer this because it's got all of the accurate markings on it. InArt went to the effort of licensing this from Glock, whereas the Hot Toys one, it's completely blank. It's just unpainted black plastic and some metallic silver on top. The same thing can be said for the Smith & Wesson submachine gun. No markings, all plastic. This thing weighs nothing. It's extremely lightweight, which might be a pro. Some folks had an issue with the InArt one being too heavy. It was pulling the hands off their wrist pegs. With the Hot Toys one, that is not going to be a problem. You can articulate the stock back, remove the magazine with some sculpted and painted bullet detail up on top, and we've got the spring-loaded charging handle. You can't see the top of the magazine with that bullet detail through the port, unfortunately. You can with the InArt one. Do I miss the markings? Yeah, but the paint applications for the Hot Toys rifle? I mean, as light bounces off the surface, you can't tell me that that gold dry brushing doesn't make this thing look like it's made out of metal. Very convincing. These might be some of the most well-painted weapons I've ever seen from them. The shotgun too, we've got that gold dry brushing, some dirt and grime in the port, a black wash in this ribbing detail for the front piece you can move forward and back, but the stock doesn't really look like it's made of wood. It's got that signature plastic sheen to it. It's fine. Am I ever going to display him with the shotgun? Probably not. I much prefer the other two weapons. Or maybe some knives. This one is the longest of the bunch. The blade isn't as shiny as I would like. This is quite clearly plastic. There's some speckling of blood on the handle. I would have liked to have seen that on the blade. I think they can't do blood on weapons for licensing reasons, but I could be wrong. Oh yes, this one is a signature Joker knife. You can extend out the blade. It's not the smoothest action in the world. It is secure though, once you slide it all the way up. This one is brilliant. It's a 1/6 scale butterfly knife. And it's got a functional clip at the bottom so you can lock it in place open, or you can close it up, push that piece in position, and now it's fully secure when it's closed. The weirdest of the bunch, the vegetable peeler, doesn't have a slot on the back for the peels to go through. There's one on the inside, but not on the outside, which is odd. 1/6 scale pencil. The detail's crazy. We've got the eraser, the little silver bit, yellow for the body, even the black tip on the end to mimic graphite. He doesn't come with a table for you to install this into to perform the magic trick with. DX11 did, so if you have that one, you could always use this pencil, that table, with your new DX Artisan Joker. Then 2 shoe blades, one for either side. Watch out when you're sliding these into the slots at the front of the shoes because they're extremely sharp. You don't want to spike yourself. And lastly, we get some hands. There's heaps of wrinkling, there's sculpted in stitching. The gestures look natural to me, ranging from this almost gripping hand. The fingers are flexible enough so that prying them open to wedge a blade in there shouldn't be a massive challenge. Then for the right side, a splayed out finger open palm hand, meant for the grenade pose, I think. two more hands for the right, a pointing finger, and this gesture, whatever you want to call that. More right hands, a playing card holding one, you can separate the thumb from the rest of the fingers, and a trigger finger hand. Oh, and already installed on him, right out of the box, two relaxed-ish open palm hands. This one is on the way to being another pointing finger hand, but this time for the left. Why do we only have two optional left hands and the rest are all for the right side? I was expecting an equal number of hands for both sides. Nevertheless, what we're going to do now is get the Joker, fully assembled, himself out here. Standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. What we are witnessing here, today, rotating around in front of us, feels like something new and fresh. It's a turning point for them. This is the culmination of everything they've been working on, everything they've learned over the years. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this is probably their most realistic figure ever. This is their Mona Lisa. It's their pièce de résistance. Let's start off with the body. The proportions, he's quite boxy at the shoulders. He's got this hunch forward, very accurate to Heath's portrayal of the Joker. Then we get to the tailoring. This is what I was worried about the most. They struggle with suits because they're inherently layered, and the layers need to be very thin in 1/6 scale to be scale accurate and to sit on the body properly. This is quite simply the best tailoring I've ever seen from them. Wires, where there needs to be wires, every single little detail has been considered. They've even weathered the buttons. You'll see what I mean when we take him off the turntable. But most importantly, the one thing they needed to deliver on, the head sculpt. They did. It's so close to perfect. It's not even funny. It's got moving eyes, rooted hair if you go for the rooted hair version, but you will need to style it. The switch out tongue thing is new. I can't wait to try it. And the likeness. The likeness is spot on to Heath as the Joker. They didn't just grab the imposter Joker head sculpt either. It's the same underlying sculpt, but they've completely reworked the hair. It's a different color, there's less of it, and the paint applications are subtly different. What I'm trying to say, after I've ranted and raved about all of that, is this is a masterpiece. Up close and personal, kicking things off with Joker's head sculpt. This is easily one of the best 1/6 scale head sculpts I've ever seen from any company. The likeness to Heath comes through from pretty much every angle, but mostly there I can see it. It's the strongest with the 3/4 turn. Detail-wise, it's equally as impressive. Sculpted and painted skin texture, some sculpted hair for the hairline, and they've extended the white makeup onto that sculpt work. Got some wrinkles up front with the skin tone poking through, a furrowed brow which works with the expression, and his mouth is open, revealing some slightly translucent and a little bit yellow teeth. You'll get a better look at them when we take them out of his mouth and insert the tongue in there. I'm curious to find out what the tongue does for this sculpt, if it helps or hinders the likeness. We will soon find out. But let's talk about the eyes. There's some black eye makeup running down underneath them, and in the eyes themselves, you can see the subtle redness around the corners. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's coming across on camera, but in person, there's some vein work, which makes his eyes look a touch bloodshot. That's exactly what you'd expect from the Joker. And don't forget, he's got moving eyes as well. We'll move the eyes around once we switch out the tongue teeth thing, because you have to take off the back panel to access all of that. The rooted hair, it's not going to work for everyone. You will need to style it. I sell a figure first aid kit that comes with these little mascara style brushes, perfect for styling rooted hair. I've popped a link to that in the description if you're after it. I've been using these to mess around with my Joker's hair, but you can just as easily use your fingers too. A little bit of water goes a long way. There was already heaps of product in his hair. Heath was thinning when he was playing the Joker, so they took a lot of volume out of the rooted hair compared to the imposter one. You'll see what I mean. There's even some blonde strands mixed in with the green, which is exactly how it's supposed to be. Some versions of the in-art Joker sculpt had a lot of orange in them. I'm pleased to report that there is little to no orange. There's a touch of it right there, but that just comes across as some added realism to me. You can style this however you like, really. People have told me I'm terrible at futzing and hairstyling. If that's your opinion, that's okay. I tried my best. I am no 1/6 scale hairstylist. You see that? The way they've baked in the hunch? Pre-sculpting that in is a very sneaky way of making sure that we always have our Heath Ledger Jokers looking correct in the collection. We don't have to angle the head sculpt forward as much. It's already automatically going to look like that. For a little comparison next to the beta test, the imposter Joker, the sculpt, the underlying head sculpt is identical. But the paint applications? Very different. The skin tone is nowhere near as orange. You can't see as much of it poking through the makeup. The red has been toned down for the lips. The widow's peak sits higher up. And they've taken a lot of volume out of the hair. This one, quite difficult to work with when it comes to hairstyling. But the new one, thanks to him having less hair to work with, I'm hoping is going to be a hell of a lot easier to manage. I could just keep shooting this head sculpt forever. The more I look at it, I see new little details like that red dot right there, the eye makeup running down with the thicker black dot, the pock marks. Anyway, the head sculpt is height adjustable. This is new for them. I don't think they've done this before, but you can move it up and down inside the outfit and it's still properly connected to the neck connector even when it's all the way up. I'm not detaching it, it's meant to do that. This is the comparison that a lot of y'all have been wanting to see, I'm sure. On the right, we've got the in-art sculpt. On the left, the new DX Artisan Hot Toys one. I like both. I think the hair looks a little bit more screen accurate on the right. Detail-wise, likeness-wise, it's a very close call, and I'm curious to hear what y'all think down in the comments. For me, I'm giving the win to the sculpt on the left. Oh, I've been trying to avoid doing this. Let's move the eyes around. I warn you, it is going to get messy. Step 1 is to extend the head sculpt up as far as it will go, angle it all the way forward. The safer way of doing this is to remove the head sculpt, but I don't fancy trying to reinsert it inside the outfit collar. It's very fiddly. So step 2 is to remove this back hair panel. You could foreseeably leave it off forever if you wanted, because the hair does sit over the top of that hole, and unless you're looking for it, or unless you're looking at this figure from the back, you're never really going to see it. You can use the included tool to move his eyes around, or you can use your finger in a pinch. I'm a fan of some side eye, so now that we've done that for the Joker, yeah, the head sculpt looks even more sinister. I'm going to need to tidy up the hair, but before I do that, let's try out a few other eye positions. Oh, Joker is pissed. He's looking up at you through his furrowed brow, looking menacing as. This is an eye position I am tempted to rock in the collection long term. This is what I'm talking about. The likeness is strongest from the side, and being able to move the sculpt and then the eyes off to the side to meet that likeness, it's infinitely adjustable. The same thing can be said for the rooted hair. If you want to bring some strands down and have him peering through them, frickin' go for it. A head tilt forward, a head tilt up. This sculpt is extremely versatile, and I cannot wait to be done with this video and find that perfect eye position head tilt combo that I'm going to rock forever. Let's install the tongue. The same steps as before. We lift the head sculpt up all the way, grab this tool, use the right angled end. You want to wedge it over the top of the teeth. It's this piece right here. You can pull the teeth out of the sculpt. Then you're left with these extremely detailed looking dentures. After you've done that, no tool required for this next step. Push the tongue in through the back of the sculpt. You might have to angle it ever so slightly, But then he looks something like this. Tongue sticking out, eyes looking up. It adds a whole new dimension to this sculpt. I wasn't sure about the tongue at first. Now that I'm seeing it, I am partial to it. Oh, okay. If this is something you're interested in seeing, the eyes looking down, chuck in a head tilt while we're at it. It could work. In the right pose, Joker looks certifiably insane with his eyes looking down like that. But it's the tongue that sells it. Enough messing around with the sculpt, let's put it back to stock and move on to the outfit. Much better. I'm sorry, I couldn't take him seriously, looking like that with his tongue sticking out at me. Let's begin with the purple coat, then we'll look at everything else. Some housekeeping before we do that. If you find his shoulders are sloping down too much, you can grab this top part of the shoulder pad with your pointer finger, wedge your thumb underneath it, pull it up. That squares him off. This is how it's supposed to look. His shoulders aren't meant to be saggy. You can also push the coat forward from the back. That will give him the exaggerated hunched look forward. The lapels are magnetic, so they won't fly away on you. That's a good thing. We've got wires down the front, wires along the bottom, and wires in these back pieces. They've finally got the color of the coat correct. It's a deep, rich, cool tinted purple. Not overly saturated, not too bright, just right. And it's weathered. They struggled with this for the longest time. DX11, the quarter scale Joker, no weathering on the coat. With this guy, plenty of it. Up here on his shoulders, the lapels, down the front, along the bottom, the ends of the sleeves, even around the back there's weathering. The texture of the coat is slightly velvety. That looks accurate to me as well. And we've got the metallic orange lining. To install the grenades, it's going to be a lot of work. We'll have to come back to that. Can you see this? The buttons are weathered. No way. They've actually weathered these real 1/6 scale buttons. There's some speckling of dirt and grime on them. The pocket flaps, they're filthy. I'm enamored by the way this coat looks. It's thin, it's lightweight, but the wires help it look like it's got weight to it because, like I said, you can pinch it in and you can shape it. Then underneath that, we've got his suit jacket. It is also blue tinted. It's not as grey as the inart one is, and it's not weathered, unlike the inart one, so I'm just going to hide it with the purple jacket. It is metallic orange lined, just like the outer coat is. The vest, can you see that pulling near the buttons? That makes it look very realistic. That is actual pulling because the vest is very tight on him. They've taken a leaf out of Inart's book and they've used these little hook and loop metal clasp things. Underneath the vest, he's got his suspenders on attached to his pants, and a very long tie tucked into his trousers. I believe the reason why they went so long is so that you can manage the tie. It's not going to ride up, and it's not going to fly away on you. One of my favorite details about this outfit is, see this shirt collar? How it's pinching in like that? It's sitting towards his neck in the middle. It's wired. Why have they never done that before? It just makes sense. Now you can get it to sit a lot closer to the body. Collars have been the bane of my existence in 1/6 scale on characters that wear suits like this. But with Joker, this shirt has been so easy to work with. From a distance, the way it just sits there, it looks very realistic. Underneath his outfit, there's a black plastic body, no skin tone paint for the forearms. So unlike the Inart Joker, we don't have any switch out seamless forearms. You would have seen them in the accessory segment anyway. One complaint here with the gloves, they look a touch shiny. The Inart ones, they're a matte finish. I looked at some behind the scenes pics of Joker's gloves and they do look more matte than shiny, at least to me. Do you like how vibrant these pants are? The pinstripe Joker pants? The material is thin, but it's structured. You can see how they hold their shape all the way down to where they break on top of his shoes. I'm partial to the more vibrant pants when the coat is darker. You want the contrast, and it's absolutely there. We've got the metal chain connected underneath his vest to his pocket. Yep, it's on the inside there. That's a real pocket. Then he's got socks on underneath his trousers. And they've padded out his ankles. The socks aren't being eaten up by the ankle joint. There's some kind of spacer in there to make that look like a real human ankle inside a sock. The shoes are sculpted plastic. DX11 had fabric or suede, faux suede, probably covered shoes, and I like that. But this, the cracked texture, the stitching, the laces sculpted on there, the way the sock is actually pushing up against the inside of the shoe so it's not being swallowed up by it. I mean, there's even the logo around the back and on the underside. That's the first time I've seen that logo on a 1/6 scale Joker shoe. You saw in the accessory segment how you can install the knife at the front. What I'm trying to get at is they don't need to be made out of fabric. The detail is so sharp, the paint applications are so good, that they look like actual shoes without having to rely on fabric. Let's do the grenades. It's an iconic pose. I want to be able to display him with them in the jacket. I know it's going to be a right pain in the ass to install them, and the frickin' safety pins. 1/6 scale safety pins. Enough complaining, let's give it a go. 1/6 scale safety pins. This is testing my patience today. You can bet that I'll be seeing you in the pros and cons segment, my friend, because I have words to say about these safety pins. Why were they not pre-installed out of the box? This is a recipe for disaster. It's an exercise in immense frustration. I used tweezers, I used pliers, I used everything at my disposal. There's not enough room to get in there once the grenades are in the straps to install the frickin' safety pins. You could always pop them in there first, but then you run the risk of scratching the grenades as you're inserting them into the straps. Also, the straps are made of pleather, which is not ideal. Do I have any good stuff to say about the grenades? Well, they're secure in the pleather straps, and we've got a real metal hook up top that we can use to hold this ring. But it's a little bit tough to get that on there on camera. Can I do it? Yes, I can. So if you want to have him permanently displayed with the grenades in the jacket like this, it's an option, but they're bulky. So it ruins that smooth silhouette of the jacket hanging down the front of him. It pushes the jacket away from the body and it makes him look kind of bulky. In a grenade jacket open pose, then yes, it's a good option. But if you don't plan on having him holding the jacket, I would just remove them. Very quickly before we move on, if you're considering using the tongue switch out with the Imposter Joker head sculpt, that's what this is. I tried to remove the teeth. It looks like the same switch out mechanism. In fact, I gouged the shit out of the back of that piece of plastic. I failed to remove the teeth. They're stuck in there, they're super glued, they won't budge. But if you're a little bit more adventurous than I am and you do manage to remove the teeth, then technically speaking, the tongue should absolutely be compatible. For a quick side-by-side comparison, no matter what I say here, I am going to ruffle some feathers. I want to preface this by saying two things. First, I'm not loyal to any figure company. I am loyal to the best product possible. And the second thing is, if you already have the InArt one, and you're really satisfied with it, you feel like you never need another Heath Ledger Joker, that's all that matters. He is still one of the very best 1/6 scale mass-produced Jokers ever, in my opinion. But he's not the best anymore, at least not for me. That crown goes from InArt back to Hot Toys. This Artisan Joker, the figure on the left, looks so real through the lens. Something about the proportions, the way you can shape the outer jacket thanks to the additional wires down the front of it, the color of everything being more accurate. I never thought a figure would be able to dethrone the InArt one when I reviewed it. But there it is. The new Victor on the left. That Joker is now my all-time favorite 1/6 scale Heath Ledger Joker. Next up, a weird one. This was technically the first Artisan figure release. Not the first to be announced, mind you, but the first to be officially released. He's slightly shorter than the actual Joker on the left, the hair looks way messier, and the brighter red lipstick just doesn't work for me. I'm not sure if I'm going to display these two in close proximity to one another because the Joker on the left just makes the one on the right look worse. Did you know that Heath Ledger is 6'1" versus Christian Bale's 6 foot? I didn't. I thought that Christian Bale was the taller of the two. There should be a subtle height difference between them, and there is. Joker is ever so slightly taller at the shoulders. Ignore the cowl, ignore the bat ears. Which is hard to do because it's a gorgeous OT Customs cowl. But do they look good together, is the question. The answer? 100%. This is a perfect pairing. At least until we get the new and improved Dark Knight suit Batman that's coming a lot later with the Armory. Ah yes, the figure that started it all with the 2.0s. This was the first 2.0 Nolanverse figure to be released as a Toy Fair exclusive. I guess he sold well, because after him, we got significantly more 2.0s from the line. Aaron Eckhart is 5'11", Heath Ledger 6'1". He's shorter than the Joker. That scaling looks right to me. But imagine what they could do nowadays for Two-Face. Rooted hair, moving eyes, better tailoring, better proportions for the body. I would be down to see that, even though this 2.0 one is no slouch. He still looks really good next to Joker. Going over articulation, starting off with Joker's head sculpt. It's on a single piece neck with a ball joint at the bottom, and it's height adjustable. So you can grab the entire sculpt, pull it up on the neck connector. Now you've got a little bit more range of motion. Looking forward to there, looking up to there, swivel, and tons of pivot side to side. His arms will go up to there, hindered slightly by the multiple layers. Going forward and back on soft ratchets, there's a butterfly joint at the shoulder that hinges up and down. Swivel at the bicep, double bend at the elbow going just past 90, then for the wrist peg, it's a ratcheted hinge and swivel. His torso crunches forward to there, going back to there comfortably, swivel and pivot side to side. His legs go forward to there relatively unhindered, going out to there, swivel at the upper thigh. Ratcheted double bend at the knee, going the full way. Then a double ball peg for his ankles, good for forward and back rotation as well as some ankle tilt. Moving on to the 3 cool and 3 annoying things. The first annoying thing is, say you want to move his eyes around, or switch out his teeth for his tongue perhaps. It is so difficult to do that once the head sculpt is installed on the body. Heck, even when it's not on the body, you're going to mess up the hair removing the back panel to access all of that stuff on the inside of the head sculpt. It's doable once it's installed, but the collars sit so high you are going to destroy the look of the rooted hair. Why didn't they use some kind of magnetic tool to move the eyes around, just like what J&D are doing with their 1/6 scale Joker? Because having to restyle the hair every single time you adjust his eye position? Yeah, I'm not looking forward to doing that. Second annoying thing, I'm begrudgingly adding this in here because I love it. I'm all for it. This post system, ingenious. But the trade-off is, now, just like a DC Multiverse figure, he's got peg holes on the underside of his feet. If only there was a switch out panel that you could install to cover up these peg holes, because in some poses they're going to be straight up visible, then this wouldn't have been a problem. But as it stands, they're always going to be there smack bang in the middle of his feet. The third annoying thing, I've met my match with these. This is my new arch nemesis. It used to be 1/6 scale real buttons. They're easy in comparison to 1/6 scale safety pins. They're functional, they're real metal, and you need to install them yourself. These should have been installed in his jacket from the factory. Getting the collector to do it, the customer, to sit there for hours threading these through the little stitch marks and loops on the inside of his jacket, it is not going to be a fun experience for anyone. If you like the customizability of being able to take these out, all the power to you, but I certainly do not. The first cool thing isn't just how good the head sculpt is, that's part of it, because you can see it, right? It's gorgeous all the way around. It's also the fact that it's height adjustable. I've never seen them do this before, but it makes a big difference for posing. If you want to have him looking all the way forward through his furrowed brow, you are going to need that extra range of motion. Or if you want to adjust the proportions because you thought his neck looked a little bit too short at first, you can do that too. The second cool thing is wires. The front of the jacket is wired, the base of it, the flaps around the back, even his shirt collar has a wire running through it. For a piece of fabric that's as thin as that is, to be wired, is incredible. I hope going forward we see more wired collars because now that you can shape it and get it to sit down inside the vest, it looks so much more realistic. The third cool thing is the switch out tongue gimmick. Whoever it was that pitched this idea, you deserve a raise, my friend, because it's bloody brilliant. Being able to remove his teeth, then pop his tongue in his mouth, this is something he does all the time in the movie. His tongue is always sticking out of his mouth. It happens so often, in fact, that I'm surprised we don't have more Joker head sculpts in 1/6 scale with his tongue sticking out. Wrapping up on Hot Toys DX Artisan Joker, based off his appearance in The Dark Knight. This is it for me. So much so that I'm now considering cancelling my J&D Joker pre-order. I might still keep it just to do some comparisons, but I'm jokered out. This is the ultimate 1/6 scale Joker. The head sculpt is that impressive. When you see this thing in person, you will be blown away. And then you get to the moving eyes and the switch out tongue. Such a clever idea. The tongue thing, I can't believe no other company has thought of it. But they executed it, I hate to keep using the P word, but to perfection. The way the head sculpt is height adjustable, that's a nice bonus, because the jacket does ride quite high, the outer coat I mean. You are going to want to adjust the height of the head sculpt, and you can. The coat itself, the tailoring is sharp as a pin, it's wired throughout, and it's got weathering where it needs to have weathering to be movie accurate. The rest of the outfit just sits on the body and is of an accurate thinness to fabric in 1/6 scale. But that's not all. We also have that new style diorama display base with the foot peg connector. That's something that needs a little bit of work. It's the one drawback for me, having those peg ports underneath his feet. But if they can figure out a way to make that look a little bit more seamless, with a swap out panel even, then they are going to be unbeatable when it comes to DX Artisan releases. At the end of this, I've got my new favorite 1/6 scale Joker, and the market has its new best 1/6 scale mass-produced Joker. In my opinion, I keep saying that because opinions can vary. We don't have to agree. If you prefer the in-art one, all the power to you. I've still got a spot for the in-art figure in my collection, but it's no longer front and center. That spot is going to this. Now, I got mine at a discount from Pop Collectibles. As always, do your own research, make sure you're comfortable before buying. I've popped a link to their site in the description, along with the discount code Justin's Collection, for 5% off your order if you decide to buy from them. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next video.